Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer Podcast, episode 171, the 2026 ALNL Central Preview. We got some special guests on tonight, and Jason's taking the night off to be with Karen. Hope you guys are doing well. Zach, welcome back, bud.
Yeah, good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. It's been a bit.
Yeah.
And Alex, I'm ready for some extenuating chaos as you always bring to this particular episode every year. How you doing, bud? You're muted, dude.
I don't know how that happened, but I'm doing great. I'm just happy we're back in baseball season. I've been done with other sports. I've been ready for this good weather sport.
Especially after a beautiful day like today. I mean, Joe, you've been dealing with beautiful weather already since you were, spring training in Arizona. But it's nice for the rest of us who have been, suffering through nonstop cold for actually all calendar year until today. So, yeah, it's good to have you back up here, Joe.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
All right, so Joe, what are you drinking tonight?
Going with the Evan Williams and Pepsi Zero. It's a little stiffer because I just don't know how to feel about this division. So
that's fair. Alex, what do you got tonight?
I'm back on the running kick, so I'm just drinking electrolytes and water tonight.
There is nothing wrong with that. And honestly, after the bike ride home from work, I should do that too, but I am not doing that. Zach, what are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I'm going Dollar Dogs and root beer tonight.
Hey, there is never anything wrong with root beer. The Olipop root beer actually is really good, I have to say. For me tonight, good old Arnold Palmer Spiked, something non-carbonated to keep me from belching into the microphone tonight.
We appreciate that.
I'm very sure you would. All right, so like I said, we'll kick it off. Joe just dropped. All right, so when Joe gets back on, we will kick it off with the photo montage of his trip out to Arizona. He must have an internet connection issue, so we will we'll roll ahead first, and we will start the AL Central, and then when Joe gets back on, we will jump off that and get back into the photos. And you know what? Whatever, we'll make it work tonight because it's going to be a fun night. So we will lead it off. Like I said, we always do the AL first because that is by far the inferior league, and I know less about the AL than the NL. But last time I checked, it's been a while since the AL won a World Series. I think it was Houston over the Phillies, and we all know how everybody feels about Houston winning the World Series. So kicking it off, we have the Chicago White Sox, who last year went 60-102, dead last in the Central, although significantly better than we all predicted. As I was looking back at last year's predictions, and I am seeing 45, 38, 63, 52. Jason's maybe 60 somehow was the closest. He freaking nailed it on a completely asinine guess. Joe, welcome back. We're going to do the White Sox, and then we'll jump back to the slideshow. So the big moves, the White Sox are still mostly purging. They sent Luis Robert Jr. to the Mets for Luis Angel Acuna and Truman Polly. They traded Gage Zeal to the Red Sox for Jordan Hicks, David Sandlin, some players to be named later in cash. They got Tristan Peters from Tampa Bay for cash. The big move, infielder, I'm going to butcher this badly, Munetaka Murakami, 2 years, $34 million. Guys, big bat, very, very big bat. Now, there's always the question of how is a Korean league bat or a Japanese league bat going to translate against major league pitching? Well, he hit 56 homers last year with the Yakult Swallows. So even though he probably won't hit 56 again, I'm sure that's probably good for at least 40 to 50. They also grabbed Sir Anthony Dominguez to lock down the back of the end of the bullpen. Left-hander Anthony Kay, 2 years at $12 million, a former first-rounder who was doing a career resurrection in Japan that went pretty well. They grabbed Sean Newcomb for the back end of the bullpen. Outfielder Derek Hill. Minor league deal for Jared Kelenic after Atlanta said goodbye. And he has a spring training invite. So, hey, maybe third or fourth. I've lost track with Kelenic at this point. Maybe third or fourth time will be the charm for him. Biggest loss, probably Michael Taylor, Miguel Castro. Nothing major there. My thoughts, rebuild's still ongoing, but now they're feeling closer to being able to hit the gas. Now that they're starting to get some of these bigger pieces in, getting rid of some more of the, getting rid of Robert. It was going to happen at some point. I think most of us were probably thinking the deadline, but they got a pretty good return for him. So, Joe, we'll start with you for the White Sox. What's your thought on them?
Yeah, I mean, I think getting rid of some of the guys that they kind of were hanging on to, I'm kind of surprised Robert lingered around until the offseason. But hey, I think it's overall, I think they certainly benefited from getting rid of some folks. That Murakami deal is going to be, we'll kind of see how that plays out. That was kind of a big splash for them because I don't think a lot of people expected that. So, I mean, I think they're going to be better. It's just a matter of how much better.
Yeah.
I do think that they won't have 100 losses this year. I just don't know how much better they're going to be beyond that.
That's fair. Alex, what do you think?
I don't like them. But then again, I'm a Cubs fan, so I'm never going to like them. They're going to be a baseball team this year. They're rebuilding, but I don't see a lot of hope this season to do much of anything good or to see many steps forward that show up in any meaningful way yet. I don't understand the Murakami pickup, to be honest, unless they picked him up because they're like, we can pay him slightly more than anybody else and then flip him next offseason or at the deadline. But otherwise, I don't understand it, to be honest. There are teams that I think are rebuilding well right now. I'm not convinced that the White Sox are. They should have traded Luis Robert at least a year ago, if not a couple years ago, to be honest. So
that I agree with. Yeah.
They are what they are. They're the White Sox. They are always going to be the inferior Chicago team.
Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Joe. I think they are going to be better. They're not going to be good, which is fine. We know that. But I'm actually really excited to watch Murakami. He just a phenom in Japan, right? So, there's no guarantee that that's going to translate over. I think the concern with him was maybe just the hit tool, the bat to ball, not being able to consistently strike the ball. But I mean, the dude's got a ton of power. He's legend in Japan. He did awesome in the World Baseball Classic. I think it was in 2023, maybe. Just an exciting player. So I'm excited to watch. I think he's going to bring some energy. I think he's going to get some of their fans excited at least. They brought in several arms that are arms and will help some. Yeah. So I agree. I think they're going to be better. I might be the most bullish here on them. And I still have them at 68 wins.
68. Jason is slightly more bullish. He said 69 nice wins. They made some moves like getting Murakami and Sir Anthony Dominguez can be a solid pen piece. Some good young talent that can even help this team break the 70-win mark. Also lost the big bat in Robert Jr., promising future with the young guys in farm, but ultimately end up in the basement of the Central. I agree with the basement of the Central, absolutely. I'm going to say, I think 67. Definitely, I do agree. They're not going to lose 100, but 67. Joe?
You know what? I'll go with, you know what? The heck with it. I'll go 70.
70, all right. Getting frisky early out of Joe. Alex, what's your win guess?
Well, the fact that you said they're not going to be pushing 100 wins and we're happy about that for them, that is not 100 losses. That is not a good thing. We should not be hoping that teams don't lose 100 times. I don't think they're going to lose 100 times, but I think it's going to be close. I'm putting them I'm going to go 65 and be optimistic, but I think it's going to be 64.
Yeah, I would not be shocked if my optimism of 67 is let down significantly, as it often is when it comes to the White Sox. All right, so we're going to backtrack a bit. Let me do some screen sharing here and show off Joe's awesome pictures here. All right, Joe.
Yeah, so a great trip to Arizona for a few days. I turned 40 in February, so it was kind of my brother and I took a nice trip out for a few days to go see spring training. What's really neat about this is this facility at Sloan, I think, is 13 years old. but they've been in that part of Arizona for 75 years.
Wow.
In some way, shape, or form. The stadium that the A's are in now out there is where the Cubs used to play spring training. So they're it's all owned by the same or those two places were owned by the same like group of ranchers back then. So that's kind of where what that property was before it became baseball facilities.
Nice.
So it's a really neat thing. They have a marquee there at Sloan Park, so they've got all the Wrigley fields with that, which is really neat. They had the game we were at. They had the World Series trophy there, so we got some pictures with a picture with that, which was
Oh, of
really
course.
cool to see. Yeah, I mean the Mesa facility is just crazy to me. It's just amazing how much size and heft there is to a place where they're only there for a month and a half outside of the guys who are long term rehabbing, and the fall league and stuff.
Mhm.
But the Sloan Park is by far the nicest. We went there on a Tuesday day game, and there were 9,000 people there
Oh, I
for a
forgot that
spring
they
training
actually have
game.
the sign just like at Wrigley. I love that.
Yeah, it's really quite neat. Um, it is a little different going to spring training because you're like, we only had three of the offensive starters in the game, so we had Shaw, Bushy, and we also had shoot, I'm forgetting who it was. Anyhow, it wasn't like you didn't have Horner and Swanson hadn't played yet. They actually started the day we were coming home, ironically. But what's really neat about that is not just the games. I mean, these Arizona stadiums there's 10 stadiums and they're all within like a half hour or so of each other. So you can like centrally stay in Phoenix or Mesa and get to all stadiums in a week if you really wanted to.
So it's
Um,
not really spread out like the Florida League is across the
yeah,
entire state. Oh, that's
yeah.
nice.
Florida is much more spread out, but yeah, Arizona is much more contained. It's 30 to 45 minutes tops from one end of the league to the other. Pretty much all of the games are during the day,
Mhm.
um, except for like Friday night. They might have what would be like a 8 o'clock game here.
Yeah,
But outside of that, for the most part, it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon kind of games. Um,
and then here's
at
your
least
hat.
airs. Yeah,
Your hat tonight. That's gorgeous, dude.
yeah, it really is nice. You really get to a chance too if you look ahead of time. And I reached out to somebody who covers the Cubs a little bit with it's Second City Sports Talk is the podcast, and so I reached out to him because I heard him on another Cubs podcast I listened to, and he was able to say, hey, here's where you go like the morning of to find out what workouts are happening and where. And so like the first day looking at workouts, I got to see Bushy and Swanson and Horner and Happ and all those guys do base running and some defensive drills and then some BP both days. It was a ton of fun to watch. Um, you got to see Shota. You can kind of see there.
Yeah.
Got to see the infamous Jed up
Still
close
waiting
or
to
close
do
enough.
it.
Uh, the Angels facility you see there is just absolutely gorgeous. Um, didn't get to see Mike Trout play. That's the one thing about the spring training thing is you can't go in there with expectations that you're going to see some of the guys that you want to see, but it was really quite fun. Yeah, Travis Jankowski coaches for the Rangers, so it was nice to see him still in the game. Adam Eaton coaching first for the Angels was cool. Um, it's really quite an interesting league out there. It's fun to be there. Um, getting to all the workouts and stuff, and then autographs and stuff ahead of the game. Mostly minor league guys. Most of the major league guys, they're kind of, driving around the back of the facility and going in the back way. But
Yeah.
you got some minor league autographs with this and things like that. One of the cool things too is that like you're basically just driving along like you're driving through Lancaster City, and then all of a sudden like there's a stadium like all of a
Yeah.
sudden like there's a shopping mall and then there's a stadium. It's like it's not what we're used to with some of the major league parks where it's you know there's plenty of parking all around it. It's kind of in the middle of that. Whereas the spring training stuff is all like right downtown around it. It's really quite interesting to see that. One of the facilities there, the one that the Rockies and the Diamondbacks share, is actually still on tribal property.
Oh, wow.
And so one of the nice things about that is they don't do autographs outside the stadium. And so you'll have guys who are like, say that the Dodgers are coming, and you'll have people who are just there to get
There's the
autographs
sign.
and make money. Yeah, you'll have guys who are just there to make money off autographs, and they can't do it because they're on. They'll get pushed back, and you're like, "Well, I'm on a public sidewalk," and it's like, actually, you're not.
Yeah, no.
Kindly stop doing what you're doing. So, like when the Dodgers would come to play the Rockies, it would be a madhouse trying to get some of those autographs, and so they really control the player safety quite a bit. There's plenty of autographs inside the stadium. It's just that they really restrict the outside stuff. So that was a neat little thing I didn't even think about with that. We did get to see Castellanos hit and play first base for the Padres, which was bizarre. But he did look pretty good. Had a pretty good hitting day that day from what I remember. But it was a lot of fun to just experience baseball in that way and kind of tap into some of my my athletic trainer days where you're watching practice and you're kind of observing what they're doing and whatnot. One thing I will say, I'll do some of the observations on players when we get to the Cubs, but it was quite fun to see Shota. I got to see Shota pitch, which was cool.
Nice.
And all of that. So a really good time and a ton of great pictures and a really good area. So like if you're ever like Jones to do spring training, like give yourself like a week to 10 days and just really soak it in. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for sharing all of those. That was a neat trip to watch in the pictures. All right, let's hop it back to the AL Central, and this is where our predictions really started to go off the rails because, boy, the AL Central was kind of it was a mad fest last year. So fourth place was the Twins, going 70-92, a 10-win decrease from the previous season. We did not, none of us were predicting a 10-win decrease, as closest was Joe at 84. So, Joe, congratulations on being closest. You were still off by 14. It reminds me of when Jason sent his thoughts in from 2024. He said about the Athletics, this team has so much talent but consistently underperforms. They have a bounce back year under a new manager, 82 wins, second in the division. That was the year that they had their record worst season ever. And as I said, LOL, just a bit outside. But again, that's the fun part of our preview show. We never know what it's going to be. And sometimes we're right on, sometimes we're off by 10 plus. And that's what happened here. So for the Twins, they didn't do a ton. They grabbed Alex Jackson from the Orioles for Peyton Elis. They grabbed Johnny Pareda from the Mariners for cash, Eric Orrs from the Rays for Jacob Kisting. They also grabbed Josh Bell on a 1-year, $7 million deal, and Victor Caratini on a 2-year, $14, and Taylor Rogers 1-year, $2, and also got Justin Ropa re-signed to avoid arbitration. Always good. You don't want to have that lingering as arbitration time ends. The Twins, very, very targeted spending on their more gaping holes in the lineup, add some depth, add a little flexibility, but really the Twins are not going anywhere soon, anywhere fast. And that's, I think they don't know what the division's going to be. Jason's prediction was 75 wins. Byron Buxton's the main guy. They'll probably be gone at the deadline. This club is missing so many things. They're going to be sellers. Jason has the Twins at 75. Alex, we'll start with you this time. What are you thinking?
The Twins, I think, made the mistake not starting the rebuild in the offseason, to be honest. But they did what they did, and they didn't make any major mistakes that are going to hinder their future. They're going to be the Twins. They're going to be a team that is sometimes going to win and sometimes going to lose, and we'll watch them when they play our teams, and that's about it. But I'm going to say they're going to end up 72 wins.
72, okay. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I don't like the Twins, and I don't think the vibes are good either. So that I don't know if we mentioned it, but they're not going to have Pablo Lopez, right? I think he's missing the season.
Correct. He's out for the entire year.
Yeah, so that hurts. I think I saw Joe Ryan is also maybe dealing with something, so we'll see what that turns into. I don't love their bullpen. I was looking at that the other day. They randomly have like 4 lefties in there, and like they're all like lefty specialist types. So that can obviously still change, but I also have a feeling that they're going to be sellers at the deadline. Don't like this team. I have them at 70 wins in 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's the type of situation where, we're going to look up and they'll have won 70, 72 games and say, man, that was pretty terrible. And then you'll look at the White Sox with like 68 wins and you'll say, oh, look, they're making progress, and it'll be kind of cute. It's all about expectations. But yeah, not high on the Twins this year.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Joe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, there's no real, positive momentum back, higher up to what they should be. I'm going to put them at 68, and they're going to be 5th in this division, and the White Sox are going to be 4th.
Wow, Joe is jumping them. Wow. Okay. I'm going to say 71, but 4th place at 70 to 71. But I'm going to go 71. If it's a tie with the White Sox, the White Sox will lose the tiebreaker inevitably. Yeah, this is a team that was just playoff bound not all that long ago, and boy, have they just mismanaged the contracts and everything else just about as badly as a badly needing to be rebuilt team could possibly do. And then speaking of AL Central disappointments, we have the Royals, who dropped 4 wins, winning only 82 games last year. If I recall, they were dealing with a fair number of injuries throughout the year, and pitching reverted pretty badly. 3rd place at 82 and 80. The closest last year was Jason at 85. Zach, you weren't far off at 78 either. So very well done, you two. Me and Joe were suckered in by the 90-plus potential of Bobby Witt Jr. Not too much going there. They grabbed Mitch Spence from the A's for A.J. Cowsey. They signed Starling Marte to a 1-year deal, Lane Thomas to a 1-year deal. A bunch of interesting minor league non-roster deals with spring training invites. 2 in particular that I was looking at were John Means and Brendan Drury, along with Hector Neris too. It's crazy. John Means damn near threw a perfect game a couple years ago, and now he's trying to make the Royals roster as injuries have just decimated his arm. So I hope he does well, because I always liked watching him pitch, especially when he's on. They added 2 more years on Salvador Perez's deal. He had a club option for this year that they just changed into a 2-year extension. They also extended Michael Garcia 5 years to the club option for a 6th year. Losses, Adam Frazier was probably and Mike Yastrzemski are probably the biggest, along with Luke Malley too. Also Randall Grichuk declined the mutual option and became a free agent. So my thoughts on the Royals: they're trying to get continuity around the young core, some short-term veteran deals. It wasn't a bad team last year. They just 24 was like the Red Sox at 21, where they jumped into the playoffs really a year or 2 before they were really ready, and it kind of showed last year with the regression. I think this is a team, though, that given how weak the Central is as a whole, I think Cleveland's going to tumble this year. I think the Royals should be right up there with the Tigers fighting for the division crown, although I don't think they have the pitching to do it. But they should absolutely be in contention for one of the wild card spots. So I'm going to jump the Royals back up to, I'm going to give them their 4 back plus 1. So I'm going to go 87. 87 wins for the Royals. Zach, what do you got?
Yeah, I like their rotation still. I think that provides a pretty steady floor for them. They made some depthy moves that you're not super excited about. Starling Marte, Lane Thomas looking for a bounce back there. I thought Michael Garcia was really interesting last year, kind of a breakout for him, kind of became that 2nd or 3rd name behind Bobby Witt Jr. The offense, I'm still a little bit worried about in terms of consistency from them. They did move the walls in, if you guys saw that, so that could potentially help a little bit with the offense. I still kind of struggle to find the ceiling with this team, though. So I've got them a little bit better than last year, but I have them at 83 wins, and I actually have that good enough for second.
Okay. All right, Joe, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking along the same lines as Zach here. 83 kind of sounds nice. I was originally thinking 84, but 83 sounds pretty nice, and I do think, like Zach thinks, that's good enough for second. So I agree with Zach.
Alex?
Yeah, I think they're going to have some bounce backs from some of their young players, especially in the rotation, and a couple batters. But the division is just going to be so bad, other than them and the Tigers, that I had 87 wins last year. You stole my answer this year, brother of mine. So I'm going to go 88 wins this year, solely based on Bobby Witt and the rest of the division being bad.
Yeah, I agree. And Jason said they moved the fences in. They have Bobby Witt Jr., and that's basically it. Rotation is average at best. The lineup outside of Witt and Caglione isn't really putting fear into other teams. Jason said 83, but that's good enough for second because of how weak the division will be. I know. The AL Central is just, boy, it's the division where every other team that plays in a tough division in baseball is like, man, if I were there, I'd win 98 plus every year right now. And they'd probably be right. Next, we've got the Tigers. Last year's wild card darlings. They got to 87 and 75. That was a +1 jump from the year before. That was second for the Central. Wild card 2, they lost in the division series, a really good series. They lost to the Mariners 3-2. Joe, you missed it by 1, dude. 88 wins was your prediction last year. Good job. Alex's wild prediction of Javi Baez starting second baseman by the end of the year. I'm going to say no on that one, dude. He made 4 total starts at second base. So swing and miss there. Nice try. Tigers definitely going all in. Framber Valdez to a move that made everybody on the team except for the catching battery very happy. 3 years, $115 million. Verlander, 1 year, 13, and Kenley Jansen back in the pen. They grabbed Kyle Finnegan again. They re-signed him 2 years, $19 million with a mutual option for 28 or 29. Flaherty opted in on his $20 million player option instead of testing the market, so he's back again. This might be the best pitching rotation in the American League. With Skubal already there, adding Valdez, even though Valdez is an absolute idiot, and I would not want, if I was a catcher, I would not want to catch him after his little temper tantrum after he gave up a grand slam last year. But you can't deny it. The dude does have talent. They've got a strong young core. This is going to be a very, very, very good team this year. They're going to crack 90. I'm going to say 94. I'm going to say 94, and they're going to take the division. Let's see, Joe, you're up.
Yeah, I feel like they certainly have the talent. Valdez is the wild card. You just don't really know, how good he's going to be, how locked in he's going to be. You don't necessarily know 100% what you're going to get out of Verlander, just with the age. So, to me, I think they are going to win this division, but I don't think it's going to be. I would say 90 is enough to win that division, and that's kind of where I feel like they are.
It won't take much to win the Central.
Right. I just don't think that they should have had the division on lockdown last year and gave it away. So I think they're going to win it this year. They're just by far and away better, but I don't think they're going to run away, 5-6 games or whatever. They're not going to run away with this.
Yeah. Alex.
I'm pretty high on them for the same reasons that I'm sort of high on the Royals, because the rest of the division is just not good. I also think they know that they're not going to keep Skubal around. Like, this is pretty much their last main chance with him.
Yeah, agreed.
And I suspect they're going to trade for some pieces at the deadline. It'll depend on how the back end of the rotation's doing, if Verlander's holding up or if they need bats. I don't know what direction they'll go, but I think they're going to go all in this year. And so I'm going to go big here. I'm going to say they're going to get 97 wins.
97. Wow. That's very big. There's no way Scooble's going to re-sign, especially after watching them mess around and then put big money down for Valdez when he's won the last, 2 or 3 Cy Youngs. So, he's gone. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think it's the best team in the Central. I got them at 92 wins, so kind of splitting some of you guys there. Man, they went into September of last year up 9.5 games, and they blew it.
Yep.
So it was an epic, like literally a historic collapse, and they still won 87 games, and I think they're better. So, I think they take a step up. I have them winning the division comfortably just because I'm kind of like lower on the Royals there. But, Valdez and Verlander, apart from the age, if you actually look under the hood, Verlander, didn't have a bad year last year. Obviously, the wheels could fall off at any time, but I don't think it's not a nothing signing, potentially.
Yeah, he just didn't have run support last year.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a terrible record, but it actually wasn't too bad. So, yeah, I think they're clearly the best team in the Central, 92 wins, first place.
And let's be real, you could do worse than Justin Verlander late in his career as a 5.
Yep.
Jason said 89 wins. They have the 2-time defending Cy Young in a contract year, great bats, and overall, this team should finally get it done and win the division, bearing yet another collapse. All right, and then our champions in the Central last year coming out of nowhere, the Cleveland Guardians of the Ohio River, or whatever. I was going to make a Galaxy joke, but they're not good enough to have earned that. 88-74 last year. They were eliminated by the Tigers in the wild card round 2-1. Alex, dead on, 88. You just didn't have the placement right, but that's okay. You thought they'd lose the tiebreaker to Minnesota. So, you know what? Like I said, predictions giveth, predictions taketh. So not a huge amount of wheeling and dealing as usual by the Guardians. They got Franklin Gomez from the Mets for some international bonus money. Rhys Hoskins, a 1-year, 1.5. Rhys? Yeah, Rhys. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking something else. Sean Armstrong. And the guy who doesn't seem to ever want to retire, Colby Allard, finds yet another team willing to give him a minor league deal on that utter glass cannon of an arm that he has that will likely be healthy for about 3 starts, and then he'll be out hurt again. Biggest move they made was extending Jose Ramirez, the best third baseman in the league by far, another 7 years, and avoiding arbitration with Steve Kwan, signing him to a 1-year deal. They did lose Tristan McKenzie. Some coaching changes. Tony Arnarich, the bench coach, Andy McKay for on-field coordinator, trying to get Stephen Vogt some support in there. This is the Guardians. This is what they do. They go with the low-cost or control additions, and even though they've got the best third baseman in the game, they're not going to build more around him right now. This team is going to go down. I have them going all the way down to 3rd. Let me see what I have the Royals at 87. Okay. The Guardians are going to go down. I think they're going to go all the way down to 80, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go lower than 80. Who's up first? I lost track. Alex, are you up?
I can go. I have a soft spot for the Guardians as a team because of all of those years with Tito. I think those were just years that they should have had so much more success than they did, but he did such a good job with them. I mean, he's obviously gone, but I do have a soft spot, even though their owners are unwilling to invest at the level that they should. Yet I don't understand why they re-signed Ramirez. They're not in a place to compete anytime soon. He's going to be gone in the next couple of years. I guarantee it. So they're going to be a middling team that is not good or bad, and I'm going to put them at 81 wins.
Yeah. 3rd place?
Yeah.
Okay. Zach?
Yeah, I mean, they're incredibly lucky that Jose Ramirez is even, the deal that he signed, right? I mean, is really probably below market value. And so they're lucky to even have him. But I think of the Guardians sort of more in the realm of like organizational excellence as opposed to like just a surplus of talent that you're looking at. They pitch well and they play good defense, and that's been enough to kind of like win them games. Last year they were bottom 3 in all of baseball in runs scored. They had a -6 run differential. Like that archetype of team that's just trying to pitch and have a good bullpen, play good defense. Like I feel like there's just red flags there. That's kind of an unstable foundation there. And again, they won the division last year. The Tigers obviously had a huge collapse, but they also had a monster run in September. I think they went like 20-7 or something. So
yeah, they have one of the hottest Septembers we've seen.
Yeah, it propped up the record a good bit. And yeah, I don't really see how they got better. I basically with you guys, I have them at 82 wins, and I feel like that's really only because they sort of have that like magic about them. Like just looking at the roster, I'd probably put them lower, but it's like these are the Guardians, so okay, 82 wins and third place.
What do you got, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of thoughts just in general. It just kind of feels like, Zach, you hinted at it, Alex, you hinted at it. Like there's just a magic there. To me, the Guardians are the Brewers of the AL Central. They have no business being as good as they are, but they're that good every year. So you can't count them out, but I do think, I'm going to say 82. I feel like, they got lucky last year that the whole Class A business didn't completely ruin their season entirely, and they somehow pulled that out. I have no idea how they did that. And that whole thing just looks more like a mess every single time you look at anything that comes out about it. It's crazy. So, I think they're going to see more of the fallout from that. I don't know that they're going to be able to replicate what they did in September. So I'm going to go 83. I think that puts them at third in my predictions. I can't remember where I was with the other one, but
that's fine.
Yeah, I think third, and my prediction is brought to you by FanDuel. So,
oh, that's a low blow, and there's no interpreter to take that one on the freaking chin. All right, Jason's predictions: 79 wins, minimal moves made, and their first 130 games last year were pretty terrible. Yeah, there's really not a whole lot more to say about that. All right, let's move over to the division that the four of us actually have some knowledge about, the good old NL Central. Fun division to watch. It always is when you're not watching Pittsburgh, unless you're actually in that gorgeous stadium for a game. And speaking of the Pirates, went 71-91 last year. That was good for fifth. They had a 5-win drop from 24 to 25. The closest was Jason. He was almost spot on at 73. The rest of us were kind of enthralled by the Paul Skeens effect. That did not really translate to a lot more wins because they have one of the worst owners in baseball, and God forbid you invest in the team. Although I have to give him a minuscule amount of credit for actually doing something this offseason. So they grabbed Brandon Lowe, Jake Mangum, and Mason Montgomery in a 3-team trade with the Rays and the Astros. They sent Mike Burrow's way to the Astros in that deal. I am not even going to try and say this outfielder's first name, Mr. Garcia, also Jesus Treviso. They're both prospects. They got them from the Red Sox for Johan Oviedo and some minor leaguers on their end. Shockingly, they actually went into free agency and made a minor splash. Ryan Ahern, 2 years, $29 million, which isn't a big deal for just about every other team in this division other than Milwaukee. But for Pittsburgh, that's practically cataclysmic. They also grabbed Marcell Ozuna, 1 year, $12 million with a team option for next year. Good luck with that. He can't run anymore, and don't let him play outfield. They also grabbed Gregory Soto and Jose Urquidy. No real major losses because this is the Pirates we're talking about. They're not going to have major losses until Paul Skeens leaves. So personally, I was shocked, absolutely shocked that they went after a bigger free agent. Payroll is still insultingly low, though, for a team with Paul Skeens, who is going to be the prohibitive favorite for NL Cy Young for the next until he decides to retire or get hurt. So I I think they're going to be a little better. I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit. I'm not going to go back up to the 80 win tier I did last year. I don't think they're a 500 team yet. I'll give them 75 though. They're still going to be last. As much as I don't like what the Cardinals are doing, the Cardinals have too much pride to fall to 5th place behind the Pirates. Joe, I'll let you start this one because Zach, I'm going to let you lead the Cardinals next.
Yeah, I think it's crazy when a signing like O'Hearn makes a big splash for Pirate fans. I do think they're better. Like they're with Skeens and I think it's Jones is the other guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like they have the pitching talent to do something, whether that's really make a big splash or if that's just kind of improve on last year. It's kind of anybody's guess at this point. I'm gonna go 78 wins. I'm not really sure where I feel about 4th or 5th just yet.
Okay. All right, Zach, what do you got?
Yeah, more activity than we're used to seeing from a Pittsburgh Pirates offseason. So I agree. Give them their props for that. I think it helps them inch closer to 500. I still don't even think they're in that like fun range quite yet. But they got a solid rotation even after Paul Skeens. I mean, Bubba Chandler, Mitch Keller's still there. Braxton Ashcraft, young guy, might be really good. So and obviously they added some solid veterans as well for the offense. So I have them at 80 wins, and that feels far too generous. But I see what they're trying to do, and I think if they achieve what they're trying to do, that's the area that they're going to be in. I also think it's just based off this offseason. To me, it shows they're at least trying to signal that they don't want to waste Paul Skeens pitching at this level. And because of that, I think they are at least somewhat committed this year. And so I don't see them selling at the deadline, even if they're, a little under 500. I think they're going to kind of go for it. And so I think that's going to help add a couple of wins as well. Whether or not that's smart, whatever, but I think it's kind of what you should do, honestly.
I think they have to. I think you have to show Paul Skeens that you're willing to keep making progressive changes forward because they haven't had a prospect like Paul Skeens since Barry Bonds came up in the late 80s. So, Alex, what do you think?
I have a cynical outlook on the Pirates, and I think the same thing with why the Athletics spent last year. I think they're doing this for the next collective bargaining agreement coming up. They're saying, hey, we tried to spend and look at the Dodgers. They're still winning. We need a salary cap. So that might be cynical of me to look at it that way. But there's a part of me that believes that given their owner. I do like what they did, though. And they have Connor Griffin waiting in the wings, #1 prospect in baseball. If he comes up this year and does well, I do think that could be a really big positive thing for them. But they just have people, their prospects, especially from the hitting side, just haven't lived up to expectations the past few years. And that's really hurt them. But they have a great rotation. The issue is Jared Jones not coming back till later in the year. And for all of that, they're still a year away from being even close to exciting. So I'm gonna be a little unkind, even though I believe in them. I'm gonna go 75 wins.
Okay. And is that 5th, Alex?
4th. Sorry, St. Louis.
Jason's thoughts here. This was nuts. 82 wins. He has them in 3rd. This team had a sneaky good offseason, and they're first to have a fantastic farm system, and I expect Connor Griffin to be in the running for NL Rookie of the Year. They got Ozuna, Ryan O'Hearn, Brendan Lowe, and have some guy named Paul Skeens. The Pirates actually spent money to be competitive, and they finally break another losing season streak. I'm not sure I'm willing to go quite that far yet, but he's not completely wrong for once. All right, next up, we've got the Cardinals last year, 4th in the Central, 83 and 79. Unfortunately, probably the last time they're going to be above 500 for a few years.
They actually won 78 games last year.
Oh, did I? Oh, crap!
You're
I
giving
grabbed
them too much credit.
my bad. My shoot! I left the 24 in, but changed it to 25, so I thought I changed it. Oh, my apologies. My apologies. Okay, so that actually means that the closest is. I thought Alex was right on. Alex, you are not right on. The closest is tied between Jason, Zach, and myself between 77 and 79. We had them surrounded, and we saw them for who they were.
Who would have thought the Cubs fans are the ones who were so far off because we were too generous to the Cardinals last year?
I think that's just trauma, you know.
Look, how many years were we bullied by Albert Pujols and Yadi Molina and all this other nonsense?
Oh, and as a
all the
Braves
other
fan,
talent-
I will apologize for that awful trade that let Adam Wainwright torture you for his entire career. That was a terrible trade. Fucking Rick Ankiel.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the other thing, as I think Alex probably will agree with this, is that we've seen the Cardinals outperform expectations time and time again, and so I think that's a reason for the generosity on our part with last season. I think
That's very fair. Alex, your prediction of the Cardinals cursed for not re-signing Pujols, of Wilson hitting 48 home runs, just a bit outside there, only 20. I did enjoy that prediction, though. I really did. The Cardinals are in rip it down to the studs and sell it off mode, as they should be. Sonny Gray is gone. They got Richard Fitz back, Brendan Clark back, player to be named your cash. Wilson's gone, also to the Red Sox. They got Hunter Dobbins. I've seen Hunter Dobbins pitch. He was pitching when I went up to Harrisburg game a year or two ago. He's good. Yoki Ferrado and also Blake Aida, maybe. Two more prospects back. Brendan Donovan has gone to the Mariners, all for prospects. Colton Ledbetter, Durangelo Cinti, who was one of their top prospects, actually. Ty Pete and 2 competitive balance picks. And they basically begged the Diamondbacks to take Nolan Arenado off their hands and got Jack Martinez back. They did grab Dustin May because they realized after sending so much pitching away, they should probably bring a pitcher in, and Ryan Stanek to help the back end of the pen. Yeah, this rebuild is starting in earnest. Zach, take it away.
Yeah, rebuild. I'm actually pretty excited about it. To get out of the terrible, like, middle sort of area that they've been the last few years. Like, it was very necessary to pick a direction and kind of shut it down and start fresh. But yeah, I mean, Chaim Bloom is taking over in the front office now. I'm pretty excited about that. He's got a fun history building up systems, and he's already been with the organization for a couple of years now, evaluating things, working on staffing and development and things like that. So he's going to come in, ready to roll with everything. You already talked about all the trades, the fire sale. And I feel like we've been talking about that the last couple of years. Like, oh, are they going to do it? Are they going to, and they didn't do anything, and now they finally did. And I'm really pleased with what they ended up getting back. The 2 guys, Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, that they sent over to Boston, they kind of targeted a similar package for both guys. You get the high upside pitching prospect, and then you get also a major league ready arm in Richard Fitz and Hunter Dobbins. And that's, I mean, those guys I think they made like 10-ish starts each last year for the Red Sox. So they have some experience, and you could plug them right into the rotation if you wanted to, which is perfect for this type of season for them, right? I mean, a big part of the Cardinals' issue is they haven't been able to develop starting pitching. And so they've had to literally go buy mediocre innings with real money, for Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson, Steven Matz, Miles Michaelis, like all these guys who are giving you average production at best, and you're paying them $13 million to do it. The good, sustainable organizations can give you that type of production, if not better, just by pulling someone up from AAA. And the Cardinals have literally not had that. So I'm happy about those two major league ready guys. Even if I think one of them at least will end up in the rotation for opening day. Maybe the other one's sort of like a next man up kind of deal. In terms of the Brendan Donovan thing, Jurangelo Cijntje is top 100 guy. He's also not that far away. He might make his debut this year, so that's also something that's encouraging. That we did get pieces back that are we're gonna at least figure out what those guys might be. And Cijntje, maybe you can kind of hope on him to be a solid 3 or maybe even up to a 2 in your rotation. And he's only 22 years old, so I think they're really trying to build a model that's going to look similar to say like what Seattle does, where those starting pitchers, I mean, you got Cy Young candidates that you're not paying anything to. Like that's the dream, right? So they're doing, I think they're doing their best to try to build something that's similar to that. It probably, I don't think there's any doubt it was a few years too late. In fairness, you go out and you trade for Nolan Arenado. It was a fleece. Like they stole him. Paul Goldschmidt, another, like you do it again in a heartbeat. It's hard to predict that those guys were just going to fall off a cliff. But in a way, it kind of showed them where they were, right, and what they needed to do. I think they were an organization, to what you guys were saying there with the Cardinals, just they always find a way. They kind of used to be what we now look at the Guardians and the Brewers, and like they just find a way because of that organizational excellence and the player development. And they've just kind of, they failed in that regard recently. So I'm excited about the new regime. It's wins and losses. It's not going to be it's not going to look pretty. At least I don't think so. I do have them finishing last. I don't think they're like a dumpster fire though. At least I do have I have some predictions for the Cardinals this year. I think the first one, I actually think the rotation is going to be better this year than it was last year, even without Sonny Gray. So you get rid of your best pitcher, but I think it's a little bit of addition by subtraction, right? Miles Michaelis isn't there anymore. Eric Fetty isn't there anymore. By getting more depth with like Fitz and Dobbins, they're going to try Kyle Leahy maybe in the rotation. So now it's like they have options, and it's going to create competition to where, like last year, a guy like Andre Palante kind of just had to be in the rotation because you didn't have an option. And he's been up and down. He's been good and bad. But now it's like, okay, if you see him in the rotation this year, it's because he was better than 2 or 3 other guys. And so that's just, I have a lot more optimism about the rotation this year. The next, Ivan Herrera, I think, makes the All-Star game, and like on merit, I think he'll deserve it. He's been an incredible hitter, over 800 OPS the last couple of years. I know every team gets an All-Star, but he's gonna deserve it. And then on a negative note, I think this is 2026 will effectively close the door on Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar, and Jordan Walker becoming stars for the Cardinals. So kind of just closing the door on what was supposed to be the new core. It especially hurts with Jordan Walker, and I'd love to be wrong about that. But, the runway's kind of been there, and you would at least expect, he doesn't have to be a superstar right away, but most of the time those guys, they'll at least flash if there's something that's going to, be there, that's going to be sustainable. We really haven't seen it. It's been all just really bad for him. So I think this will be kind of the last chapter on the old guard, so to speak, even though none of those guys are old.
Yeah. Talk about missed potential. Jordan Walker really is. I thought he had a chance to be one of the next big stars for the Cardinals, and boy, that has not petered out one bit.
Yeah, part of it was I do think he was rushed. But he was also a high school pick, right? So that's all. There's always a little bit more volatility there.
And what's your win total for this year?
What do I have him at? I think I have him at 72.
72.
Yeah.
Okay.
72. Last place. I kind of just assumed everyone would have him in last place. So it's kind of at least some people are a little more optimistic than me on that. But yeah, I am excited about this year, seeing the kids play. It's been so frustrating the last few. Like, it's hard to root for a guy like Miles Michaelis at a certain point because it's like, I know this isn't going anywhere. Like, let's get some young guys. JJ Weatherholt's gonna, he's hopefully gonna have a good rookie year, and they're gonna see some other debuts this year. So I'm hoping the guys are hungry and ready to establish themselves as part of that next core whenever they are ready to compete.
Yeah, you're in Atlanta 2000 and was it 14? Yeah, 2014 through 2017, where I was just like, get rid of everything, get rid of it, bring all the prospects back, start over, and we got a World Series win out of it, so I think we did the right thing. I don't know if I said it. I have them at 75, fourth place. They're going to have the tiebreaker over the Rats. Jason said, sorry, Zach, 74 and last. Finally committing to a full rebuild. Lots of young guys, prospects to look forward to. See what impact they can have. Time for Windwalker and company to show if they actually have anything for, the foreseeable future. Joe, what do you got?
Well, I have two quick questions for Zach. One of them is, I got to see Dylan Carlson because he signed with the Cubs in the offseason. Like, is that one of those things where you feel like he's one of those guys who probably should have been back?
No. Okay.
Just wanted to check on that. And then the other thing, I guess, is the Ollie extension and how you feel about that.
Yeah. Ollie's a divisive guy, man. There a lot of people are like, what does this guy even do? As a Cardinals fan, obviously I'm kind of more plugged into it. I actually like Ollie, and that's coming from someone who did not. I hated the way he handled the Tyler O'Neill situation, calling him out publicly. I didn't like that, but that was his first season as the manager. I think he's improved. If you look at the Cardinals bullpen over the last few years, it's been very solid. I think that's a pretty, you can draw a line between how good a manager is and the way he can kind of manage that bullpen. So I respect what he does there. From everything that I've heard, no talk of him losing the locker room. He's apparently a player's guy. And more than that, he's also apparently really big on development. So I think for this era of Cardinals baseball, it actually makes sense to have someone like that. And the other thing too, I mean, who wants this job that you're really excited about? Like, they're not, it's just the timeline, right? So if in a couple of years they're not happy with him, then hopefully the talent is going to be ready to go, and then maybe you can sign someone else up. But realistically, I mean, are you going to change gears, potentially short term? So I'm happy with the extension. I don't mind Ollie, and yeah.
Yeah, right. I just thought that would be helpful for context on that, because I mean, obviously we had our interactions with Ollie last year with the whole Ian Happ getting hit, and that whole situation was a little ridiculous, but I wanted some honest perspective on Ollie, because I do want to I do want to give the guy a fair go at it. I'm gonna say, just because they're the Cardinals, I don't know why. I mean, I explain why we feel this way, I think, but I'm gonna give them 78, which is what I had the Pirates at. They're gonna win the tiebreaker with the Pirates and be fourth. So,
Alex,
I'm actually pretty impressed with. This is a good start to a rebuild for the Cardinals. I don't think this is going to be a long rebuild for the Cardinals. I think they'll be back to being at least a wild card team, maybe as early as next year or the year after, at the latest. Really like the middle infield the Cardinals have. I think they're going to take over from the Cubs for the best middle infield in the Central very soon, at least fielding wise. Wild prediction: JJ Weatherholt, Rookie of the Year. Calling it now.
Love it.
And I'm going to give them, though, not a good win total. I'm going 71 wins in last place.
71 and last. Wow. All righty. I do love the random wild predictions as they come, Alex. It's one of my favorite things about sneaking you on here. All right, the Reds last year, surprisingly frisky, as I said in our preview last year, and boy, I turned out to be right on that one. 83 and 79, they were good for third. Last wild card, they get swept by the Dodgers in the wild card round, to the surprise of absolutely no one. That was the only when Joe and I did the playoff prediction last year, that was the only series that he and I both agreed was going to be a sweep, was the Reds and the Dodgers.
I think on principle I picked the Reds just because I couldn't do it.
Correct. You did, but you also acknowledged that it was going to be a sweep for the Dodgers.
Yes, it was likely to be a sweep, but I couldn't pick them on principle, as anyone who saw the NL West, AL West preview show will understand. So,
Alec or me, Zach, Joe, we were right around 84 for me. Zach and Joe at 82, so we had them surrounded again. Alex, your wild prediction last year of Elly De La Cruz being the most exciting player in the Central. I'm gonna say you nailed that one, buddy. I love watching Elly. I love watching Elly.
I'm gonna challenge that and say for the full season he was, but he wasn't for the first half. PCA was more exciting for the first half.
Complete agreement. First half PCA, but season as a whole, it was Elly. All right, so the Reds went up 6 wins last year. Actually, a little bit of wheeling and dealing. They grabbed Brock Burke from the Rays for Gavin Lux. They grabbed Dane Myers from the Marlins for a minor leaguer, Ethan O'Donnell. They did grab Eugenio Suarez very late in free agency. I was surprised Eugenio lasted that long. 1 year, $15 million. They also grabbed a left-handed reliever, Caleb Ferguson, and re-signed Emilio Pagan to a 2-year deal. That, I think, was key because he was a great closer for them last year. Added the bullpen depth, some short-term veterans making incremental improvements. Again, they don't need to make big splash moves right now because they do have a strong young core. I said this a couple weeks ago. I think the Reds did have a rather disappointing overall offseason in that they couldn't even be bothered to offer Kyle Schwarber close to what the Phillies were offering him, since Schwarber is a Cincinnati guy. I understand Schwarber was not going to go to the Reds, but they should have at least made the effort to get him in there with a better deal. That I don't even know if their deal was for $100 million. So I was disappointed by that. I think the Reds are going to improve very slightly. I'm going to bump them up 1 to 84 wins, and I'm going to have them in third place. Alex, take it away.
I once again think Elly De La Cruz will be a top 2 most exciting player because I just don't think he knows how to play baseball and not be that person.
Agreed.
I really like the Suarez pickup because Ke'Bryan Hayes, he didn't do anything for Pittsburgh. He never lived up to his potential. I think it was a decent pickup for them at the deadline last year, but he's insurance for Hayes not playing well this year, essentially, I think. And they can always stick him at DH if Hayes does well. So I do like that pickup, but I don't know. I'm going, they're going to be exactly the same as last year, 83 wins, and I have them at third in the division.
Okay. Zach.
Yeah, the Reds are a weird one for me because when I look at their season last year, they were a wild card team, but they sort of got there because other NL teams just blew it. I mean, the Mets, for example. So like they had 83 wins, they snuck in, but they had some help. And that was, they won 83 games with a rotation that was pretty awesome. I mean, Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo, those guys all had really nice years. And the offense was just kind of not super consistent. So that kind of held them back. Recent news that Hunter Green might miss a little bit of time. He's got like an elbow thing going on. That's scary. Hopefully it doesn't miss a lot of time, but you never know. So it's hard for me to imagine that their rotation is going to be better this year. Now they do have some names that I like, right? Like, is this the Chase Burns breakout? Rhett Lauder? Like I see the upside is there. I just think that's more of a like best case scenario for the Reds. I'm looking at it saying maybe they got a little lucky. And so I actually kind of expect them to come down just a touch. I have them at 500 in third place. But again, just to speak to that upside, like if the Hunter Green injury is kind of a nothing burger and Chase Burns blows up and no one's going to be surprised if Ellie De La Cruz at some point in his career has like an MVP caliber season. Mm-hmm. That could happen. Again, it's just a lot of what ifs for me with the Reds, and I think that's sort of a best case scenario for them. So I'm kind of just in the middle with them, but I feel like they have a pretty wide range of outcomes.
Yeah. I personally hope that Austin Riley does not chase Ellie De La Cruz down the third baseline to tag him out before he hits home plate this year, because that's what knocked Austin Riley out of the season last year when he pulled his hammy doing that. That was dumb. Ellie's a lot faster than you. Don't do it again, please. Joe.
Yeah, I feel like the Suarez pickup in that ballpark specifically, like if Schwarber's in that ballpark, he leads the league in homers by a long shot.
Yeah.
The same thing I think with Suarez. I feel like I'm gonna go 88 and third, and I think I'm gonna pull an Alex here and do a bold prediction. I think Suarez leads the league in homers.
I like
playing in that stadium.
That is a great stadium to whack home runs, and no doubt about it. Jason said 77. Jason is very much underwhelmed by the Reds. Fourth place, he said they missed out on the Schwarber homecoming, but got Eugenio back. TJ Friedel can have a good season, but Ellie De La Cruz hit an offensive wall last year. Can he get back to his prior success? I think he will. And they do have Hunter Green, but again, health concerns. And they do have some missing pieces on the roster, no doubt. But I think you also, given the overall age of the Reds, you have to let them grow. I feel like you can't. They went all in on the youth movement. I think they need to keep pushing on the youth movement. So.
And Alex alluded to this earlier in the AL Central, but you do have the Tito factor. I mean, that does factor into this a little bit.
You have to give them at least 3 wins they shouldn't have because of Tito, at least.
Right.
All right. Let's move it on to the Cubbies last year. 92 and 70, second in the Central. Should have won the Central before they stopped playing baseball in June when Milwaukee decided to start playing baseball. First wild card team. They were eliminated by the Brewers in the division series. It was a good series, though. At least it wasn't, the Dodgers sweeping the Reds. It was at least a competitive series. I nailed it last year. I said 92 wins right on. I haven't had too many perfect guesses, but I'm happy to have that one. As the Cubs jumped 9 wins up from 24 to 25. Not a lot of trading because of free agent signings I'll talk about in a second. They did send Kitteridge to the Orioles for cash. The big deal, of course, Alex Bregman, 5 years, $175 million with a full no-trade clause. They also picked up some bullpen pieces, Phil Maton, Hobie Milner, Jacob Webb, Shelby Miller. I didn't know Shelby Miller was still pitching, first of all. I thought he had retired. I will forever love Shelby Miller for letting us scalp the Diamondbacks, get Ender and Ciarte and Dansby Swanson. I will forever love that, especially since Shelby Miller fell off the deep end after we traded him. Shota Manga, that was really odd that he declined the long-term option and then accepted the qualifying offer. Glad it worked out for you guys, but that was definitely a little weird. Rea was re-signed. Thielbar was re-signed. Of course, the big loss, though, was Kyle Tucker. The Cubs didn't really have a lot of holes. They grabbed Bregman, and then they added some bullpen depth. I'm going to withhold my total prediction until I hear what you guys have to say first. Joe, do you want to take it first?
Let's let Alex go first.
All right, Alex, surprise us.
I really, really like this team. I don't love this team, which is, I think, the perfect way to describe the Cubs since Ricketts bought the team. It's the perfect way to describe them recently under our he who must not be named president. But I do really like it. There's a lot of depth here that I think is really good and really strong. I think fielding wise, this is my bold prediction for the Cubs. We're going to have at least 4 Gold Gloves.
Okay.
We're gonna have Ian Happ and PCA in the outfield. We're gonna have Horner, and then we're gonna have Bregman. I really want to say Swanson too. My gut just says no. I know he's probably not going to. I really want to.
You're correct.
Come on now, he could. It's possible. No, I really like this team. I don't love the Bregman signing on its own. I think I would have rather have had Kyle Tucker, because I think Kyle Tucker made the people around him in the lineup better. And I don't think Bregman's going to have quite that same effect in the lineup, as you have to pitch through the lineup and get through people. I do think he's going to be a great upgrade at third base, both fielding and batting. We are a team that could have signed Kyle Tucker too. We could have signed both of them, and that would have made me love this team in every way, shape, or form. I don't think our bats are quite enough to win it for us all the time. I don't think our pitching is quite enough to win it all the time. If they're both in sync with each other, I think we'll be an incredible team. I just think there's not quite enough at the highest end talent on this team that it makes me feel confident that we can make a run at the World Series. That said, we have about 4 or 5 backup pitchers, so we're there to withstand injuries. And if Justin Steele can come back once he comes back and he can look like he did before he was injured, we could have and Matthew Boyd, if he pitches the same way as he did last year, I don't know how he did that last year, but he did it. And if he does it again, I will love him for that. We could have that, but I'm just not confident in a lot of this. So I really, really like this team. I just don't love it. But that said, I'm actually kind of low on the Brewers this year. So I am going to put us winning more games this year than we won last year. And I am going to put us at 95 wins.
95 in first?
Yep.
Okay. Joseph.
Yeah, look, I think Alex is spot on with a lot of this. You like it, but you don't love it. I think the Bregman signing, one of the first things I thought about when the Bregman deal was announced was, first off, that was an amazing hour of Chicago sports, because Bregman got signed and then the Bears came back and won a playoff game. It was insane. Like, it was nuts. But beyond that, it was like, to me, the Bregman signing was an admission. Like, you were there, you just didn't want to give him the same amount of money the year before. So like you're basically admitting that the Shaw experiment was a failure last year. And I like Matt Shaw. I think he's going to be really good. I mean, the offense, he had spurts and up and down, but I mean, when you're taking the big time job at third base, and they haven't had a great third baseman since Bryant left, there's a lot of pressure there, and there's a lot of mechanical changes he made throughout the year that really just, he was up, he was down, he was up. But to me, the Bregman deal didn't make sense from that perspective, because you're like, you already had a chance at Bregman and you didn't take it the year before. What changed other than not re-signing Tucker? And I mean, to me, I knew they weren't going to re-sign Tucker. When you argue over $1.5 million in the season before he plays for you, you're not re-signing the guy. You're just not. And honestly, I'm on the other side of the Tucker situation from Alex. I'm glad he's gone, because I'm a little pissed off at the way things went last year. And part of that is Tucker, and part of that is Counsell. Like, there's no reason that he should have played with a broken hand for 8 weeks. There's just no way that works. Like, I don't care if he wants to play. He can't hit. And if he can't hit, he's not worth anything. So, I mean, to me, that's a problem. And I think I'm glad from that perspective, because I don't really want that kind of, well, he wants to play nonsense. Like, I don't care if he wants to play. He couldn't hit for 6 to 8 weeks. It was ridiculous. I mean, week after week we were on this show, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Something is wrong, and they're not telling you something is wrong, and he can't hit for anything.
It's one thing to play through a broken hand in September. That was June. You don't do that in June. And I think I said those exact words a few times last year. Yeah, I mean, it drastically impacted that division last year, because they were flying high, and it affected the rest of the lineup because PCA fell off.
Seiya wasn't, Seiya was up and down a bunch last year. I think Shota had a really down year last year, and you're hoping that he bounces back. And I think that's why there was really no market for him in the offseason. It was, well, you had a pretty crappy year. We're not sure if you can do it again. There's a lot to like about it. I think this whole thing with the fourth outfielder that they're trying to work through, with Carlson, with Chas McCormick, with Kevin Alcantara, who honestly of all of the BP I watched while I was down in Arizona, Alcantara had the most pop I'd seen outside of Bushy. He had the most pop of any of the guys, and it was just like, this guy's going to be good, and we don't really have a place for him. There's a lot of concern there. I just don't know. Steele's officially cleared, and they're probably looking at late May, early June, I think. If things continue to go smoothly, it could be sooner. Who knows? He feels great. Every pitch is back in his bullpen workouts, so everything looks good for him. Can he bounce back? I really was surprised that they didn't do an extension of either Happ or Horner or both. In the offseason, I feel like that's a question mark. Happ is the longest tenured player in the entire Chicago Metroplex at this point from a sports standpoint. So, if you're going to keep him and kind of knock that out before the season starts. All that to say, there's like Alex said, there's a lot to like. I think the big prediction you're seeing out of a lot of Cubs guys is that Bushy's going to hit 40 or more, and he's going to be the first Cub to do that in a long, long time, which is crazy to think about. There's just a lot to like. There's a lot to not quite like, and I think to me they felt like the most. I told this to Jason, I think at least once last year. The Cubs felt like the most underwhelming 92 win team. It was like they won 92 games, but you're like, how did you win 92 games? Because there just wasn't that momentum in the playoffs. I still think they're going to be, until you can beat them, they're second in this division. And I think I'm going to go with the 90 or 90. They're somewhere in that 90 to 92 range. They're going to be about the same. It's just, until you can prove that you can beat the Brewers, I'm not going to pick you anymore.
90, 91, or 92?
Let's do 92.
Okay. All right. Zach, what do you think?
I'm at 92 as well, and that's good enough for first for me. But I love the way you guys broke that down. To me, the Cubs feel like a big fish in a small pond in the NL Central. They can pretty easily, if they want to, they can pretty easily bully the other teams in terms of payroll and what they can offer. But when it comes time to compare to the big, the really big fish, they don't quite measure up. So I'm sure that's frustrating to a certain extent. But I thought they were the best team in the division going into last year, and then the Brewers won 97 games. But I think they're the best team in the division this year as well. And they traded for a pitcher as well, I think, didn't they? Edward Cabrera, was it?
They did, yeah. Okay. That's a huge addition that makes the most impact. I think, to Alex's point, can Boyd do the same thing he did last year? I don't know. We'll see. You do have the WBC to contend with too, with all of that. So.
And Cabrera needs to be healthy before I'm willing to say it's a great addition. He needs to be healthy.
Yeah, that's fair.
A guy who could throw a 92-mile-an-hour changeup, I'm good with it.
That is stupid that a changeup's ever over 90 miles an hour. Yeah. Jason said 90 wins, first place. Getting Bregman and Cabrera is massive. The team's well-rounded and solid from the lineup to rotation to bullpen. They can make a deep postseason run if they play to their potential. By the way, just out of curiosity, do you guys know who the last Cubs player to hit 40 plus was? I'll give you a hint. It's not Sosa. It was after Sosa.
No, it's shoot. I should have prepared for this because I knew it was coming.
You brought it up.
I did bring it up. Go ahead, because it's the last lefty is the big thing because he's the that's the thing.
It was Derek Lee in 05.
Right. It's been 20 years since they've had a 40 21 since they've had a 40 homer left-handed hitter. It's nuts.
Yeah, they're due.
Yeah,
they're definitely due.
The other thing too is there's been a lot of talk and Hoyer tried to downplay it, but there's a lot of talk about how Wrigley played last year as a park. It just did not. There was a ton of hitting that didn't go out that would have gone out in a normal, whatever normal is, weather pattern in Chicago.
Typical is a better word, I think. All right, I'm gonna go. You know what? I went against my gut last year when I should have listened to Joe. I'm going to listen to Joe this year. The division belongs to the Brewers until they get knocked off. So I'm going to go 93, but second. And that will be, of course, a wild card spot. And speaking of the damn Brewers, they decided to absolutely laugh at our predictions last year, going 97-65, won the Central, and then got swept in the CS by the Dodgers because, of course, they did. You see, that drove me. If the freaking Cubs would have won that damn series, I think they actually had a chance to at least not get swept by the Dodgers. Joe, you were the closest by far. Everybody was in the 80s except for you. You said 92. Well done. Well done. The Brewers did what the Brewers do. They have a great pitcher. They're going to trade him with a little on so they can get a lot back. Peralta got sent to the Mets along with Tobias Myers for two really good prospects, Jet Williams in the infield and Brandon Sproat, a right-handed pitcher. They got Kyle Harrison, Shane Drohan, David Hamilton from the Red Sox for Caleb Durbin, Andrew Monasterio. Jesus, that was terrible. Anthony Seekler, as well as a competitive balance pick. They got left-handed reliever Angel Zerpa for Isaac Collins and Nick Mears. They grabbed Gary Sanchez, which is really not much of anything anymore. They got Akil Baddoo. Big, probably the biggest thing they needed to do, they got Brandon Woodruff to take the qualifying offer and come back because he could have legitimately tested free agency, but he really didn't. I don't think he got enough innings that he would have gotten a fair deal on the free agency market because he didn't come back till the final third of the season. So I think that was absolutely the right move by Woodruff to take the qualifying offer and come back another year. Danny Jansen did leave. And, this is what the Brewers do. They get pitchers really good. They trade them away and bring more prospects in and have incredible organizational depth to withstand injury better than most franchises can. And I think that's going to be no different this year. I'm going to put the Brewers. I am going to ping them a little bit because Peralta is that is a lot to overcome. So I'm going to ping him back to 95 in first place in the NL Central. Zach, take it away.
Oh man, I feel like I fade the Brewers every single year, and it never works. So I'm
keep hoping.
I'm kind of fading them, I guess. Like they're taking a step back, but a step back from 97. I mean, so I've got them at 90 wins in second place, a couple games behind the Cubs. I do think losing Peralta matters. But like you said, you get Woodruff back another year removed from injury as well. And like, he didn't pitch much last year, but he was really good when he did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, what do you expect? Just organizational excellence. They do the little things right. They just seem to find a way. And I feel like this team just walks into 90 wins. So I think they do it again.
Before you guys go, Jason said 85 in second. Lineup isn't that scary anymore. Losing Peralta is going to have a significant impact. He thinks Mizorowski is going to have a sophomore slump on the mound. I don't think he will, to be honest. I don't think he will. He said they could be anywhere from 85 to 90. He's going to go in the low end to 85. All right, Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel like a slight step back. I'm going to go 94. I just feel like, Sproat is I think one of the guys that, I mean, outside of Jonah Tong, I feel like that's the guy that the Mets didn't want to lose. And look, I mean, if Stearns was okay with getting rid of him, then the Brewers are probably fine. But like, we did everything we could to the Brewers. Burns signed outside of the division. We stole their manager, and we still can't beat them. So 94 is where I'm at with the Brewers. They're going to win this division again because that's what the Brewers do right now. Until the Cubs prove that they're going to just put it together and do it, I can't do it. I just can't take it. Durbin's the bigger loss to me compared to Peralta. A lot of the Brewers folks are really high on Durbin, and that's a huge loss. So, 94, but they're still going to win this division.
Alex?
I agree that I think Durbin's the bigger loss because they still have a good rotation. The issue with their rotation, though, is I just read this a few days ago. Other than Brandon Woodruff, their projected starting lineup, they don't have anybody who has more than 2 years of service in Major League Baseball. It's a young lineup in their projected lineup. And there's just going to be some inconsistency, as there always is. There might be some slumps. And so I do think there's going to be a little bit of a step back there. They're still going to be good. At this point, I feel like all of us are just resigned to the fact that for a while now, the Brewers are just going to be good, and we don't have to like it, but it's going to be the way it is. My wild prediction, though, that I hate, I'm going to say this, is Mizorowski is going to be top 3 in Cy Young. And the reason I'm saying that for one reason and one reason alone, there was something like in the playoffs last year, he had like 4 of the fastest pitches in playoff history in the same at bat or something wild like that. So for that reason alone, if you can pull that off in a single at bat, I'm going to put you in the Cy Young and you're going to get it. But I'm going to put him at second and I'm going to do 92 wins.
92 and second. All right. Now it's time for the craziest part of the night, as it always is. Alex, your wild oddball pick of the NL. Let's go back through the history here. In 2024, you had the Marlins making the NLCS. Not quite. Last year, you said the Mets would win the World Series. The MVP would be in the Central, although you weren't sure who. You were guessing maybe Wilson. So you're 0 for 3 now. So what do you got for your wild oddball prediction for 2026?
The Dodgers are not going to win the division, but they will still win the World Series.
I don't know what part of that I hate more. That the Dodgers finally get knocked off the division, but then God. If they win 3 in a row, I'm voting for a lockout myself. Your oddball prediction from the AL last year was that the Yankees will miss the playoffs. And unfortunately for you, Alex, they tried really hard, but the Red Sox could not catch them and drag them down, kicking and screaming, much to our mother's delight. So what's your wild oddball pick for the AL this year?
I honestly didn't even think about a wild oddball pick for the AL this year.
That's okay. Put you on the spot again.
Okay. There is not going to be an AL team that wins more than 92 games except for one, and it's going to be the Mariners. It's going to be a year of parity. I'm calling it.
That's not as wild as you might think, because the East is going to cannibalize itself again. If there is a team, it could be the Blue Jays. But
my wild oddball picks make sense until the season happens, and then they made no sense at all.
Yeah, this could be the year that you nail not just one, but you might nail 2 oddball picks.
Oh, stop. None of these are going to be true.
I hope not, because God, if the Dodgers win 3, no thank you. All right, guys, thanks for coming on. The NL, I love doing the NL East, but the NL Central, you guys know your division almost better than I know my own division at times, and it's a delight to have all of you on. I'll make sure you guys get back on a couple times during the season. I want to bring you guys back at the halfway point too for recap, see what we all think the first half and what shenanigans will happen in the second act. Since we're, a week away from St. Patrick's Day, shenanigans feels like the absolute correct word to describe what will likely happen and what could be the last season we have for a little bit pending the CBA, because as we've mentioned a few times, that's not going to be pretty. So again, the Dollar Dogs and Beer Banana Ball podcast may be what it is next year. And if it is, you know what? I'm okay with that. Damn it, that's fun to watch. All right, guys. So we'll be back. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we say the 16th or the 23rd for the East? I
The 16th. So next week for the East. Yeah.
Next week for the East. Okay. So note to self: do the sheet this week, not next weekend, because I will be otherwise occupado. My birthday's Saturday, and I have heard that the Miller clan has something planned for me, and I'm excited for it and have no idea what the hell it is, but it's going to be a great time, whatever. So we'll be back next week for the East. Audio recordings, guys, are on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. We're live on YouTube as well as Facebook. Merchandise is at redbubble.com, and you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. Guys, we are presented by Dark Arrow Podcast and sponsored by Whiskey and Blade Barbershop over in Manheim. Oh my God, this is an old one. Oh, that's because I pulled the last year's. It's now Baron Barbershop over in Manheim. Johnny, my bad, buddy. I will see you tomorrow night because this needs to be hemmed in now. This is getting a little wild even for me, and now that it's getting hot, I need to cut it back a little bit. Guys, may the dogs always cost $1. May the beer always be cold. We'll see you next week.